What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. The road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer is now going to be taking its next stop to one of the new teams in the FBS ranks. We are in Newark, Delaware, and we are going to be talking about the Fighting Blue Hens, a very exciting addition to the FBS level. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. Hey, thank you all so much for clicking on this video and for helping to support the channel. If you want to support it even further, then go down below, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, hey, you might as well ring the bell. Turning on notifications will ensure you don't miss a thing during the rest of prediction season, just about a week left, and you won't miss anything during the college football season either. Now, I am a sports media graduate delving into the professional world of the industry. Got the tie on and everything. You want to see all the cool stuff I get to do while still being up to date what goes on this YouTube channel? Give me a follow on social media, Twitter, Instagram. It's at TailgateNate29. And you can feel free to even email me, tailgatenate29@gmail.com. But I do want to thank every single one of you for supporting and interacting with me and the channel in whatever way you may be doing so. And it's time to finally talk about one of the new additions to the FBS ranks. Ryan Carty is your head coach for the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens. They are technically the Fighting Blue Hens, although you're probably going to hear me say Blue Hens a lot in this video just because Fighting Blue Hens, a little bit long, right? But this is a Delaware team that I have said it in every single video where I've talked about teams out of Conference USA. You want to take a look at a team that is going to be ready to compete at the FBS level, at least out of the two that are coming into Conference USA this year, Delaware and Missouri State. I think Delaware is that team that is more suited to do so and have some good success, and you're going to see why throughout this video. Hey, how do we do preview predictions here on the channel? Well, we are going to go through a roster overview where the offense is over here to the left and the defense is over here to the right. At the end of the video, we will go through the Delaware football schedule. I will give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. And guys, this video overall is here to tell all of you what I think about the Blue Hens in 2025. Before we do get started, right down below me are returning production numbers. They're according to ESPN, and they factor in portal additions up to a certain percentage. What's more is your recruiting and transfer portal ranks for the class of 2025 are both according to 24/7 Sports, and it does include FCS level teams, so that's why you see Delaware being below 136, obviously only 136 FBS teams in the country. It's because the 24/7 rankings include FCS and even some Division II schools in there as well. Well, all that said and done and out of the way, your offensive coordinator is Terrence Archer as we get started talking about the Delaware Blue Hens. Now, this is a quarterback room last season that, look, you gotta, when you look at the stat sheet, you gotta understand it was not a by committee quarterback room. It, in fact, was ravaged by injuries. There were injuries up, down, left, right, and center. So 3 quarterbacks got some really substantial playing time. And honestly, they all played pretty darn well. The one guy you are going to be losing out of this quarterback room from last season is a guy by the name of Ryan O'Connor, who was the second leading passer last year. 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, 879 yards on 61% completion percentage. But here are the 2 guys that you do get back. You get a really experienced player in Zach Marker, who I believe is going to be at very least a senior. And yes, this is correct too. He is even a graduate student, so he's a really experienced guy. He was your lead passer last year, 1,011 yards, 10 touchdowns through no interceptions and 134 pass attempts. That was also the most thrown by any one of the 3 quarterbacks last year. And you're also going to get Nick Minicucci coming back as well. He had 825 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, yet had the highest completion percentage out of the 3 at 63%. So you take a look at Marker and Minicucci. Those are going to be the 2 guys that are going to fight for the starting role. If you were to ask me right now, well, the guy in the thumbnail screen a little bit ago was Zach Marker, so I think you're probably going to see him get the starting role, and it's just because of the experience. However, Nick Minicucci is a really talented, really skilled true junior that I think absolutely can vie for that position as well. And Minicucci brings something to the table that Zach Marker doesn't. It is the ability to consistently show, or I should say the consistent ability to be able to run the football. There we go. That's much better worded. 141 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns, was the leading rusher among quarterbacks in this Delaware Blue Hen team last season. So really interesting to talk about the quarterback battle. I think no matter who you play, whether it's Marker or Minicucci, you're going to be doing something right. And Cardi's got two pretty good options in the quarterback room this year. Your lead rusher from last year, and Marcus Yarns, is now over with the New Orleans Saints, 844 yards and 6 touchdowns on 6.3 yards per carry for him last season. So, okay, here's who you got coming back. Joe Silver is going to be presumably your lead tailback here, 462 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. So then stepping up into that role is going to be Saeed St. Fleur, and hopefully I said that last name correctly. So he's going to be stepping up to be that second position. And all of that would be true if not for a transfer coming into the program in Byron Ellison. He's coming over from Tulsa, where he had 353 yards and a touchdown with the Golden Hurricane last year. He also very much so, I think, going to battle it out there with Joe Silver to be that lead role. So Byron Ellison and Joe Silver, I think more likely than not going to be that 1-2, but you're going to see St. Fleur get some really nice carries this season. Again, apologies for the mispronunciation if it is doing so, but I think you got 3 really nice running backs in this backfield stable. Your leading receiver in Phil Lutz is going to exit. I do believe college eligibility is over. He led the team in every major statistical category last year. And in 2 of them by quite the wide margin. Did only have 4 more catches than anyone else on the team, 45 catches, but was by far and away the leading receiver with 857 yards and had more than double anyone else's touchdown production, had 11 touchdowns last season. Yarns is a guy that could catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. He was actually the team's 3rd leading receiver last year, so losing that out of your backfield is going to hurt as well. However, the unit still does have plenty of really, really good talent. It's going to be led by Jake Thaw and Max Patterson. Thaw last year, 334 yards and 5 touchdowns, while Patterson had 286 yards, no touchdowns, but that is surely to change for him this season. And you take a look, again, some other really nice pieces they have. Jakara Kelly is going to be that slot wide receiver for him, but you also do have a couple of transfers that are also going to help aid this team. Now, the 2 transfers coming in are likely going to end up playing some backup roles. So those first 3 names that I mentioned in Thaw, Patterson, and Kelly, again, the presumptive slot wide receiver this year, probably going to be your 3 leading targets this season. I do think Byron Ellison can be a very good part out of the receiving end in that backfield as well. And I do believe that Silver and St. Fleur can be as well. So you got some other pieces there that can really help you in your pass game. And speaking of which, your lead tight end from last year in Caleb Faria. I realize I might have butchered that name there as well. He's going to return with Elijah Sessoms set to back him up, just like the tight end duo was last year. For the lead tight end, Caleb, 134 yards and a touchdown last season. And then for Sessoms, only had 6 catches, but 40 yards. Not a team that's going to use their tight ends a whole lot, but getting Faria coming back here, I think is going to be a nice addition to this offense. As far as your offensive line, you're going to see 3 key pieces leave, but there is still a lot of very nice talent remaining. You get a few transfers coming in to presumptively be backups in their respective roles, but hey, you still got a couple graduates here on this offensive line. Other than that, it's going to be some younger-ish talent outside of those graduates, but still like this offensive line, and I like this offense as a whole. As I told you, I think they got 2 really good options in the quarterback room. I like their skill position room, even with the losses that they do have, and overall, I think this is going to be an offense that, look, man, if they get things figured out, they get it figured out pretty fast, they're going to be a team that can be really, really tough to defend for a lot of these Conference USA opponents. That being said, let's take a look at how Delaware is going to defend a lot of teams. Manny Rojas is that defensive coordinator, and this is the team that likes to play that 3-3-5 system. So you're going to see a lot of 3-man fronts followed by 3 guys in the second unit. Again, a pretty common yet pretty difficult to plan for defensive scheme there. A strong defensive front last season was coupled with a very aggressive secondary. What do I mean by that? Well, the rush defense last year was pretty good for this team, and they also were able to generate 28 sacks. Now, they didn't really force a lot of fumbles in that regard, and so turnover production can improve that way, but the secondary, 30 passes defended, 14 interceptions, and did have a pick 6 last season as well. So, both are really going to be needed this year because you are now at the highest level of college football. Okay, I apologize for whatever was going on with my cam there, I realized I lagged a whole ton. Hopefully the audio doesn't sound too weird, and I'm also going to hope it doesn't happen again, but I will keep an eye on it. So let's now start diving on into some of the talent that you are going to see here on this team this season. We will start, of course, with the defensive front. Your sack leader from last year in Melkart Abu Jawude. I definitely butchered that last name, but he is going to be gone and was just a vital part to this defensive front last season. Again, I told you he was their sack leader, had 6.5 sacks last year. And again, going to be a really, really big loss as he enters the portal. He's off with Bill Belichick, and he's going to play power 4 football at North Carolina. However, experience and talent still lie everywhere up front on this defensive line. You do get a lot of nice pieces coming back, and that 77% returning production defensively is really going to help Delaware plan for some of these offenses that they're going to see in Conference USA. James Yelbert, Keyshawn Hunter, Jack Hall are all really experienced pieces. That's your projected starting 3 on the defensive front. You do get a transfer in Noah Matthews, who's going to be coming over here from Kentucky. So you get a power 4 guy coming over here to play. And it's not like he saw no playing time. He has a career 13 tackles over the past 2 seasons. So again, some good production there. You still got a lot of talent in this defensive front. Linebacker room, your lead, or I should say one of your lead linebackers in Ty Davis, 40 tackles, 3 sacks for him last year. He also had 2 interceptions as a linebacker and that 1 pick 6 I mentioned earlier. He's going to be gone. He leaves for the Temple Owls. So he is now going to go play football in the American Conference. However, 3 of your top 4 linebackers are going to return. That includes your top 2 leading tacklers. Gavin Mole is going to be back, 70 tackles, couple picks for him last year, and then another really good tackling piece in the linebacker room in Dylan Traynor. You're going to see him return to this team there as well. Some other really nice pieces do come back, and you do get a transfer in Jawarren Corbin, who's over from Iowa Central Community College, that could play pretty big minutes here in this linebacker room as well. So it is a strong second level. Again, like the defensive front. Okay, it does lose a really big piece, sure, but it's got a lot of nice talent coming back, a lot of guys that are going to fit in. Your secondary last year, told you it was really aggressive, forced 14 interceptions last year. Or I should say the team overall forced 14 interceptions. I already told you 4 of them right there have come from the linebacking room. But the dynamic secondary last year does need some improvement in their overall pass defense. But overall, a lot of your dynamic pieces are going to come back. List off some of them right here. Kashawn Cox, Jason Scott, KT probably butchered that last name, Corey Lyde, Hassan Manning, etc., etc. My son Pollard, Nate Evans, there, as well as a couple transfers coming in. This is a really, really talented secondary group. And overall, again, a lot of those guys were your interception leaders last year. The CA had 4 picks for this team last season. He, of course, was that interception leader. And then again, a lot of guys that just had interception production going to be coming back to this defensive backfield. So I think it's going to be another strong secondary group. Again, I do want to see that improvement, though, in being able to defend the pass with just a little bit better skill, touch, whatever it is you want to say. I want to see them improve that, but they can still be pretty aggressive. I think they're going to force a lot of turnovers this year. Your primary kicker and punter are both going to return to the squad, keeping special teams consistent because, hey, kickers are people too. You know, we got to show them some love. So overall, when I look at this Delaware team that is joining the FBS ranks this year, there obviously is that question of, hey, is this a team that's ready to take that step up to get to that next level of competition? Well, you look at what Delaware has done over the past couple of seasons. To specifically look at what Delaware has done under Ryan Carty, 2022, 8-5, 2023, 9-4. They went to the FCS second round both of those seasons. Last year, 9-2, and this is a Delaware team that is, I think, ready to compete at the next level. But well, it's time for me to tell you if they can prove it, right? Here is the 2025 Fighting Blue Hens football schedule. But before we dive on into that, you look down below me at some odds from FanDuel, and yeah, you'll notice there's only the one number. It's because of the transitional years. Delaware's not eligible for the conference championship game. They are not eligible for any sort of postseason contention like a bowl game yet either. However, it could be like a James Madison, Jacksonville State situation where people can clamor for it if Delaware has a lot of success, which I think this is a team that can that can have that level of success, right? I think they can reach that 6 wins. You'll see right there, their over-under is 4.5. I think this team is going to slot right on into the mid-ranks in Conference USA, where, as I've told you before, it's going to be a really, really competitive scene. I think Delaware is going to be one of those teams, and they could prove to be one of the better sides, especially with all their returning production and the success that Carty has had over the past couple of seasons coaching this team. You should be able to start out with a win here, as even if you were still in the FCS ranks, I would still pick you to beat this Delaware State team. Delaware State has just not been a great team in the FCS ranks over however many years. Delaware should be able to win that one. However, you're going to get your welcome to the FBS moment right here when you have to go on the road and play Coach Prime and Colorado. I do think you lose this game, and even though Colorado's going to lose Shedeur Sanders, a lot of really good weapons, obviously Travis Hunter, Colorado is still going to be a really, really dynamic and dangerous side. They still have a lot of really talented players and pieces on both sides of the ball. You're going to have Caden Salter transfer over from Liberty to be this quarterback. If not him, then Julian Lewis is a really talented freshman. Now, their offensive line, defensive line, the running back room, it has still got to see improvement this season, and I think it has a lot of solid pieces to be able to do it. However, this is a Colorado team that's got to be able to prove that. But on the road against Colorado, not going to be easy. I do think Delaware drops that game. I also think they drop this game to UConn, because watch out for the Huskies this year, man. UConn is going to be a dangerous team, and they were last year. It's going to continue that way into this season as well. If they can stay healthy at the quarterback position, more specifically if Joe Nano can stay healthy, sky can be the limit for this UConn program, and Jim Mora has done a phenomenal job at being able to build what UConn has done over the past couple of seasons. Really like this UConn team this year. I think they do beat the Delaware Blue Hens. However, I think Delaware is going to get their first FBS win as an FBS program. Of course, they already beat their FCS rivals in Delaware State. I think they are going to win an FBS game right here on the road against FIU. This is going to be a game where the defense can really be tested and see what they're made of. But I think with all the strong pieces up front, Delaware can be able to wreak havoc on this FIU offensive line. You do have to watch out for the quarterback in K'Wan Jenkins. He's going to be a really dangerous threat this year. But overall, I do see FIU being a team that can struggle this season. They don't have some of the really good pieces they've had over the past couple of years, and even with them, they didn't really do all that much. This is a Delaware team that I think, again, I've said it so many times, they are ready to compete at the next level, and I think the defense is a big reason why they can go on the road and get the win against FIU here. These next two games are going to be some rough ones. Now, you do have an extra week to prepare for Western Kentucky, and it is a home game, but Western Kentucky has been one of the mainstays in Conference USA for so long. And yes, they are revamping everything this year. They lose quarterbacks, wide receivers, some good defensive pieces. They're still going to be one of the best teams in the conference. You do have Maverick McIver, who's going to be coming in at quarterback. He's an Abilene Christian transfer that I really, really like. Some good skill position players, including Katie Hutchinson. I should say Katie Hutchinson is coming back. But you have a lot of good skill position players entering through the portal. The defense really bulks up that defensive front, and even in the other position groupings as well, Western Kentucky brings in some really phenomenal transfer pieces. Tyson Helton's got this team looking pretty good this year, and I think Western Kentucky can compete for a Conference USA championship. And even though, much like Western Kentucky, they also lose everything, so can Jacksonville State. Rich Rodriguez is gone. However, the foundation was set really, really well with this program. And I just don't see Jacksonville State being a team that's really going to fall off too much. This is absolutely a Jacksonville State team that has a strong foundation, a lot of good talent. The Gamecocks are still going to be one of the better teams in Conference USA. There are going to be some challenges this year, including having a head coach that's never been a head coach before in Charles Kelly, as well as just simply trying to replace all the pieces that you lost from last season. However, I think Jacksonville State's going to do well at that, and I still think they're a very successful team in Conference USA this season. So Delaware, maybe not off to the best start in your FBS tenure. You are 2-4. However, I think things are really going to start picking up for you in the second half of the season. You get a home game against Middle Tennessee, weekday game on a Wednesday, and I do think Delaware is able to win this game. Middle Tennessee is a team that, look, I'm betting on doing well again this season. I do think Middle Tennessee is going to have some really good moments this year. I think they can figure it out this season. with that second-year head coach whose name for some reason is escaping my mind right now. This is a team that has a really good quarterback in Nick Vattiato, but I think this Delaware secondary is going to be up to the task, even with all the really good pieces Middle Tennessee has in this wide receiver room. And again, of course, I think Vattiato could prove to be one of the better quarterbacks in this conference this season. Middle Tennessee is still Derek Mason. That's the head coach. They still got some things to figure out under him, including some of that defensive scheming and whatnot as well. So Liberty does, or I should say Middle Tennessee does win that game. Getting ahead of myself a little bit, or I even said the wrong thing there. Delaware beats Middle Tennessee, but I think Liberty gets this game against Delaware. Liberty is definitely going to be a team that probably going to be at the top of Conference USA, even without Caden Salter, even without Quentin Cooley, even without some really good defensive linemen especially, but otherwise good defensive pieces. Liberty's still a team chock full of talent. They got some really good players, and they probably have the best coach in the conference in Jamie Chadwell. Liberty's just not going to be an easy out for anybody this year, and I think Delaware does fall on the road to Liberty. And so you're sitting right here at 3-5. Louisiana Tech is an interesting team to try to map in the college football landscape this year, right? Because even though the expectations have been high over the past couple of years, and this has been a Bulldog team that's saying, hey, they're going to make that jump, it hasn't happened yet. This year, it's looking probably the most likely it has throughout the Sonny Coombe era, but it also has to happen this year. Sonny Coombe has got to, maybe for lack of better terminology, coach for the position again this season. He has got to be able to prove that, hey, this is a position that's going to work out for me. Louisiana Tech is the team that is going to take that next step this season. They have all the pieces there to do it, but there are going to be some moments of lapse. And again, Delaware, not a team that you're real too familiar with having to prepare for, at least over the past couple of seasons. And I think Delaware is going to throw some wrenches here that Louisiana Tech hasn't seen. Hopefully this is the Delaware team that can stay healthy in a lot of positions, especially quarterback. I think they are very well equipped to be able to get this game against Louisiana Tech, even though the Bulldogs at the end of the day may be the more talented team. You're going to lose a couple straight here to round out your season. Sam Houston State might stumble their way through non-conference play, but I think overall, once they get into Conference USA play, it's going to be a really good team. Phil Longo is a guy that's been around the program before. I like all the talent that Sam Houston State does possess. And overall, a team that, again, can really struggle through non-conference play. Once they get into conference play here, bam, I think that switch is going to flip. And Sam Houston State, I still think surprisingly to some people, can still compete for a conference championship. On the road against Wake Forest, I don't think you're going to win the Power 4 game either. You got two of them on the schedule, and I think you drop both of them. Wake Forest, a team that probably does not have that talent level under Jake Dickert to really do anything spectacular, but they got some solid pieces, including that running back in Damon Claiborne. He's going to be a really good running back, one of the better ones in the ACC, and Wake Forest is still going to test a lot of opponents they play this year in that conference. They will beat Delaware. I'm fairly confident in that, although the Blue Hens can definitely give Wake Forest a good run for its money. UTEP, I think UTEP is building in a tremendous direction, and this is a minor team that I think Scotty Walden will have competing at a fairly high level here, if not next season, then maybe the year after that. I think UTEP is a couple pieces away. I do like that quarterback wide receiver connection a lot. I do like their quarterback, Skylar Locklear. I think they got a good wide receiver room. It's on building that defense and trying to replace some of the pieces you did lose through the transfer portal. Overall, a pretty strong team. But again, guys, this Delaware team is going to be built for, again, you look at the schedule, it's not crazy, but based off of what the Kennesaw State was last year, where they just overall were not a good team in the FBS ranks coming over, I think non-conference play does get Delaware a little bit here because you do have two Power 4 teams. That game against UConn, even though it's at home, is going to be really tricky, but this is the team that I could absolutely see, even though they're not eligible for it, being that team to emerge. And much like you saw out of James Madison when they first came into the FBS ranks, like you saw out of Jacksonville State in their first year, this is the Delaware team that I think is very well built to be able to compete at this level, especially in this conference. Now, again, you got to ask the question, are they really ready for it? I think they are. Delaware and Missouri State going to be some really hard teams to predict this year, so who knows what happens? I think they're ready for it. This is a Delaware team that I really, really like overall, and sure, they see their struggles this year trying to adjust to the FBS level, but I think Delaware overall going to be a very successful team once they get settled in the Football Bowl subdivision. That's going to do it for this video. Let me know your thoughts on the Fighting Blue Hens in the comment section below. And remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.